It left our future generations simply astonished at the ambition, the achievement, the refinement, and the elegance of the people that built it. This enormous temple of solid stone done with incredible precision and in such skill and artistry. More than 1,000 years ago, Indian craftsmen carved a temple straight out of a mountain, an immense sanctuary of stone, devotion, and impossible precision. Aspects of Kailasa's construction are still a mystery. One of its many secrets came to light about 100 years ago. Who constructed a temple at all so wondrous that even the gods were astonished? Today, it still stands, but its true origins remain a mystery. When researchers began studying it through modern methods, something unexpected surfaced. Locked within the rock were details that did not match the limits of the age that built it. A hidden vault. No inscription ever mentioned, and discoveries so disturbing that even experienced scholars were stunned. The monument science can't explain. High on the Dean Plateau, carved into the basalt cliffs of Maharashtra, sits a monument that has challenged researchers for generations. The Kailasa temple is not only ancient, it is unlike anything built before or after it. The structure rises from the earth, its walls and pillars shaped so cleanly that it's difficult to imagine the mountain in its original form. For centuries, everyone who stood before it has struggled to understand how such a vast and complex monument could emerge from a single mass of stone. The site belongs to the Ellora Caves complex, home to dozens of rock-cut structures, but Kailasa is so extraordinary it stands out. Built in the 8th century during the reign of Rashtrakuta, King Krishna I, the temple appears even more impossible when you consider its age. There is no recorded construction stage, no record of experimentation, or written description of an earlier attempt. It just arrives in history fully formed, but local legends offer their own explanation. One story speaks of a queen who prayed to Lord Shiva when the king fell gravely ill. She vowed to fast until she saw the temple's shikara, the rising spire that marks the dwelling of the divine. According to the tale, the craftsmen carved day and night until the top of the temple emerged from the rock, allowing the queen to keep her vow. Whether fact or folklore, Kailasa was created under extraordinary pressure, with extraordinary speed, by craftsmen possessing skills far beyond what the records of the period suggest. Kailasa is the largest monolithic rock-cut temple in the world, a single continuous structure carved downwards from a solid cliff. Most temples are built layer by layer from the ground up. However, here the builders did the opposite. They removed everything that did not belong, revealing halls, columns, sculptures, and towering walls from within the mountain. By the time the work was finished, an estimated 200,000 to 400,000 tons of rock had been removed. Even with a large workforce, the logistics behind that effort remain difficult to map with certainty. Kailasa's courtyard measures roughly 82 meters by 46 meters, surrounded by walls that rise more than 30 meters high. At the center stands the main shrine designed in the Dravidian style, commonly seen in temples of South India. Freestanding pillars frame the courtyard, while bridges link the upper levels to surrounding galleries. Across the surfaces of Kailasa are carvings of Hindu epics, scenes from the Ramayana and Mahabharata, and depictions of gods, demons, celestial beings, and mythological battles. Every wall carries layers of meaning, each figure placed with intention. The detail is crisp and deliberate, even in areas that would have required workers to carve while suspended high above the ground, or tucked into narrow spaces cut deep within the rock. The sheer amount of sculpture suggests not only skill, but also an organized approach that historians have struggled to reconstruct. And yet, despite the monument's size and significance, almost nothing is recorded about how it was made. No inscriptions outline the workforce. No documents explain the sequence of excavation. No ancient engineer left notes on the techniques required to hollow out such vast chambers without destabilizing the cliff. For a project of this magnitude, the silence is unusual. In many ancient cultures, major constructions were recorded in detail to honor the king or commemorate the workforce. Here, the mountain offers no such explanation. Everything must be inferred from the stone itself. Researchers have tried and failed to reconstruct the process. The structure contains multiple levels, interconnected spaces, and architectural choices that seem planned from the very beginning. There is no sign of hesitation in the layout, and no areas where the builders appear to have changed direction or corrected mistakes. For a monument carved entirely by removing material, this level of precision is difficult to reconcile with the absence of detailed planning records. Even the workforce remains a subject of debate. Carving hundreds of thousands of tons of basalt would have required a coordinated group of artisans, engineers, laborers, and specialists in stone sculpture. Yet, no clear evidence survives to show how many people were involved, how long they worked, or how the process was supervised. But the most mysterious part of Kailasa isn't its scale or its beauty. It's the precision hidden inside it. Certain details carved deep within the rock suggest a level of planning and technical understanding far beyond what the 8th century should have allowed. And those elements, the ones no inscription ever mentioned, raise the biggest questions of all. The advanced technology behind Kailasa. Understanding how Kailasa was carved requires stepping back and looking at the structure with fresh eyes. Every courtyard lines up cleanly with the one beside it. Shrines face precise directions. Pillars rise at consistent intervals. Sculptures maintain balance and proportion even when placed across different levels of the temple. Nothing appears accidental and nothing suggests improvisation. The entire monument feels as though it was executed according to a plan so detailed that every strike of the chisel had its place. This level of accuracy becomes even more striking when considering the tools available in the 8th century. The craftsmen worked with iron chisels, hammers, and picks sharpened by hand. Simple tools that would have dulled quickly against basalt. The rock at Ellora is volcanic in origin, dense and resistant, making it one of the hardest materials a stoneworker could face. Yet the carved surfaces of the Kailasa remain sharp centuries later. Edges meet cleanly, corners are square, and relief sculptures preserve fine details that should have been nearly impossible to achieve at such a scale. Some theorists have suggested the possibility of lost techniques or unfamiliar knowledge passed down through generations. Mainstream archaeology supports a more grounded explanation. A large workforce of skilled artisans who perfected rock-cut methods over centuries. Even so, the scale of Kailasa keeps the door open to lingering questions. Other ancient sites show remarkable craftsmanship, but each follows a different method. Petra in Jordan was also carved directly into a cliff with entire facades cut from sandstone. But Petra's stone is far softer and easier to work with than basalt, and most of its structures are shallow front-facing carvings rather than fully excavated freestanding buildings. The Egyptian pyramids, on the other hand, reveal another type of mastery. Millions of limestone and granite blocks were quarried, transported, and stacked with astonishing precision. Yet, Kailasa stands apart because nothing was transported or assembled. Most scholars believe thousands of workers participated in the construction from sculptors and artisans to quarrymen and support labor. Coordinating them would have required strong leadership and clear sequencing. Which areas to excavate first, where to remove bulk stone, when to begin carving details, and how to protect the structure as deeper chambers opened. Without inscriptions, the logistical chain can only be studied through the stone itself. The surfaces inside the temple still carry faint tool marks that run in organized patterns, showing how teams worked side by side, shaping the monument in layers. Some researchers suggested the temple could have been completed in about 18 years, especially if a large workforce was continuously employed. Others argue the process would have taken longer given the density of the rock and the precision of the sculpture. The absence of construction records makes it difficult to settle on a definitive timeline. What is clear is that the volume of removed stone challenges even modern crews without machinery. The durability of Kailasa is another sign of the builder's understanding of their material. In later centuries, parts of the Ellora complex faced invasions and deliberate damage. Under Mughal rule, Emperor Aurangzeb reportedly ordered the demolition of Kailasa. However, the effort was abandoned after workers realized it could not be dismantled in any practical way. Chipping away pieces of a monolithic structure proved nearly impossible, especially because of its lack of joints or assembled sections. The layout of Kailasa also shows an unusual sensitivity to structure that goes beyond aesthetics. The pillars are positioned to distribute weight evenly. Open courtyards relieve pressure, and bridges link areas without stressing the central shrine. The builders seem to have understood the natural fractures in the basalt and carved around them, preserving stability throughout the excavation. Even today, engineers examine the temple to understand how such large voids were created without causing collapse. The mountain has supported this open space for over 200 years, a result that speaks to planning as much as artistry. And behind all these unanswered details is a simple truth. Kasa's builders were working with a level of organization and practical knowledge that feels far beyond what the 8th century usually reveals. The precision of the carvings, the clean geometry, the careful weight distribution, and the sheer volume of rock removed all point to a construction process that was far too advanced for its time. The mystery surrounding the monument further deepens when you understand what lies below the temple complex. Recent findings suggest the presence of advanced systems beneath Ellora, a discovery that opens an entirely new line of questions. Anomalies found under the ground beneath contains a mixture of natural and carved features that researchers are still trying to map. The entire complex sits in Dene basalt, the volcanic rock shaped by ancient cooling patterns that create joints, fractures, and weathered bands deep within the cliff. These formations sometimes appear as void-like signatures in surveys, but several of the readings fall in positions that do not match expected geological behavior. Their placement has raised questions because some lie directly beneath architectural elements of the Kailasa temple. A number of nearby caves contain lower levels that are now blocked or collapsed with early documentation, suggesting they once extended deeper into the rock. The remaining openings in these floors point toward the general axis of Kailasa's foundation. Whether intentional or coincidental, the consistent direction of these passages has led researchers to consider the possibility of an underground plan that connected multiple caves to the main temple. Archaeological studies of Ora often focus on the carvings and architecture, but the water systems beneath the site are just as complex. Conservation reports document an integrated network of cyastines, channels, and catchment areas cut directly into the rock. These were designed to collect and divert rainwater, support the surrounding settlement, and protect the temple from erosion. Drainage channels run across and around Kailasa, guiding water away from vulnerable areas. They connect to a wider landscape shaped by micro-waterheads, small seasonal streams and natural reservoirs that form during the monsoon. The result is a hydrological system that appears deliberate rather than incidental. Water tanks around the complex show signs of planning with walls shaped to hold runoff and surfaces cut to slow the flow. The idea was not only to supply water, but also to preserve the structure by preventing long-term damage from heavy rainfall. Similar systems exist in Ajanta and other ancient Indian sites, but the scale and precision at Ellora stand out. The builders did not simply carve a temple. They shaped the surrounding ground to work with it through every season. One of the most significant aspects of this discovery is that some of the void signatures detected under are located near major water channels. This raises several possibilities. They could be natural cavities formed by ancient volcanic activity, or they might be deliberate openings designed to manage water flow. Without excavation, it's difficult to determine their purpose. Many temple traditions included concealed or partially hidden areas below the main structure. These spaces are used for various functions. Some served as foundation chambers designed to stabilize large buildings. Others formed ritual vaults used for ceremonies without public access. Certain sites included mandapas, halls or chambers built underground to maintain cool temperatures and provide quiet interiors for meditation or specific rites. These features were not decorative additions. They formed a structural and spiritual layer beneath the visible temple. At Ellora, traces of such practices appear in subtle details. In several caves, partial steps descend into filled or collapsed basins. Carved grooves continue into blocked passages. These remnants resemble subterranean designs seen at other Indian temples, but their distribution around Kailasa makes them harder to dismiss as isolated choices. They suggest that the builders worked with a deeper architectural framework that extended below the visible structures and may have influenced the placement of entire courtyards. As survey technology improves, teams continue to study the underground landscape without intrusive excavation. Ground-penetrating radar and density mapping occasionally could reveal new shapes beneath the surface, but interpreting them remains a challenge. A void could be a natural cavity, a collapsed passage, or a chamber intentionally carved and sealed long ago. Kailasa's visible form is extraordinary on its own, but the hidden features beneath Ellora suggest a deeper level of technological planning that is still not fully understood. The builders engaged with the rock, the landscape, and the water systems in ways that show both practical intelligence and long-term foresight. The more these underground patterns are studied, the more they reinforce the idea that Kailasa was not simply a temple carved from a cliff. It was part of a wider design that reached below the mountain surface. But these patterns are only the beginning. Kailasa holds several unusual features that do not fit neatly into what is known about 8th century engineering, and they raise new questions about how and why the monument was actually created. Striking features of the Kailasa. Kailasa was built as a sacred space dedicated to Lord Shiva in his form as Kailasanatha, the Lord of Mount Kailash. Hence, every part of the temple revolves around this identity. The main shrine stands at the center of the courtyard, cut directly from the same mass of rock as the surrounding walls and pillars. Inside the sanctum, the Shiva Lingam rests in a quiet, dim chamber that remains the spiritual heart of the complex. Worshippers step into this space much as they would have more than 1,000 years ago, entering a room carved with such precision that it has never needed reconstruction. In front of the main shrine sits the Nandi Mandapa, a freestanding pavilion also carved from the original cliff. At its center is the statue of Nandi, Shiva's bull, positioned so that it faces the sanctum across the courtyard. The alignment between the two structures is exact, forming a direct line of sight from the pavilion to the inner shrine. This layout appears in many temples across India. But Kailasa's version is unique because both structures were created by removing stone from above rather than assembling separate pieces. Kailasa remains an active place of worship even today. Pilgrims visit throughout the year, and the temple sees the largest gatherings during Mahashivaratri, when people fill the courtyard for night prayers and offerings. Rituals continue in the same rooms that ancient devotees once occupied, following traditions that have survived for centuries. Lamps are lit inside the sanctum. Chants rise through the carved halls, and the temple becomes a meeting point between its long past and its present life. The continuity of worship has helped preserve the purpose of the space even as the methods used to build it remain a subject of study. Another striking feature the Kailasa possesses is its acoustic qualities. Certain chambers carry chants in a smooth, even tone, allowing voices to travel without distortion. The carved domes and veited ceilings inside the halls shape the sound in ways that enhance ritual singing. A single chant can echo gently across the stone, filling the space without losing clarity. Visitors often notice the effect, even without understanding its structure. A quiet syllable spoken near one wall could drift through the hall with surprising strength. These acoustic features appear intentional rather than accidental. The builders carved large halls with smooth surfaces that reflect sound in predictable patterns. High ceilings give the chance room to expand, while narrower passages carry the echoes deeper into the structure. Achieving these effects in a monolithic temple required careful control over depth, height, and surface angle. Unlike later temples constructed with assembled blocks, the craftsmen here had only one chance to get these proportions right. Other impressive features of the temple include the courtyards opening the structure to sunlight and guiding illumination into the central areas during the day. Pillars create shaded paths that remain cooler in the afternoon heat. Raised platforms allow gatherings without crowding the inner shrine. Even the placement of carved balconies and windows appears to respond to airflow, providing ventilation in a space that could otherwise feel heavy with stone. These features are proof that Kailasa was built for both spiritual practice and long-term survival. Every element serves a clear purpose in the daily movement of worshippers and the rhythms of ritual. Yet at the same time, the precision behind these choices leaves room for deeper questions about how the builders planned such a complex design from the first day of excavation. Do you believe the Kailasa was built by ancient Indians? What do you think? Drop your answers in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click on the next video on your screen, like this video, and subscribe to our channel for more updates.